What's going on, guys, and welcome to the Dream Files. Before we hop in today's video, I do want to note that I am not a professional and everything I say is purely opinionated. If a dream you have or see connects to stress, consider speaking with a qualified professional. Without further ado, let's get into these dreams. Also, I do want to note that if you had a dream that stuck with you, you can submit it using the link in the description. All the dreams are anonymous and you can fill it out in the Google Forms. Thank you. Okay, guys, so after reading the first submission, I named this story The House That Wouldn't Let Me Leave. Their dream said, I was in a house that felt familiar, but I knew it wasn't my actual house. It looked like home, but the rooms kept changing sizes. Things weren't where they were supposed to be, so where was I? The hallways were stretching longer than they should, and the doors felt like they didn't have an ending. I was trying to find a specific room, but every time I thought I was close, the layout would shift. At one point, I looked out a window and saw people outside who seemed to know I was there, but they weren't trying to get in. They were just watching me. I didn't feel chased exactly, just uncomfortable, like I wasn't supposed to be there. I remember feeling frustrated because I couldn't leave the house either. Doors were there, but opening them didn't lead outside. They just led to other rooms. Okay, my first thoughts on reading this is that this is a normal dream that I feel like everyone has had at least once in their life. And reading your dream, you had a few normal sightings people say they have in dreams. The stretching hallways, the feeling of being watched without being threatened, the fact that your house felt familiar but wrong. This dream often centers around feeling stuck in motion, actively moving but not quite getting anywhere. So let's get into what I think the house means. The house feeling familiar but not actually being your home is important. Houses and dreams often represent your current mental or emotional state. It usually points to where you are right now in your mind. In your submission, you also said that you were stuck between a couple of decisions in your life and struggling to make a choice. You also said that the dream left you feeling anxious, stressed, and confused. The fact that the layout keeps changing suggests a lot of uncertainty that you may have. Every time you think that you get to the right room, the structure changes. That mirrors what you described in working life. Standing between decisions, trying to move forward, but not knowing what choice to make. Hallways stretching longer than they should often represent being delayed. An effort without payoff yet. You're doing the work, thinking things through, staying busy, but progress feels stretched out and stagnant. Time feels lost in these moments, which explains why the dream wasn't chaotic, just confusing. You're moving, just in place. And the people outside watching you but not doing anything is a very subtle but powerful detail. This usually points to perceived observation. It can represent social pressure, expectations, or even your own internal sense of being evaluated. Good news is they weren't trying to get in, otherwise this would probably be rated as a nightmare. So since the pressure doesn't seem like it's external force, it seems more like awareness to me. You feel seen, whether by others or by yourself, and that creates discomfort without fear. The doors that don't lead outside is like the emotional core of the dream. Doors that open but don't let you leave often symbolize choices that actually don't resolve the issue. Options that lead to more decision making, more thinking, more planning, more rooms. And that kinda lines up directly with your question you had in your submission. Am I making progress or just staying busy? And the dream seems to be reflecting that question back to you. The dream wasn't a nightmare, it was slightly surreal, controlled, and just heavy. You rated it at a 7 out of 10. That suggested something that you're actively managing and not something that's overwhelming you. The familiarity of the dream without clear repetition hints that this may be a recurring mindset, just not a recurring story. The dream, in my opinion, doesn't suggest something is wrong. It just suggests that something is unresolved. More specifically, you're close to getting the answers you want. You may be overthinking too deeply, and you're hesitant to commit to something until it feels right. The dream seems to be asking a question rather than issuing a warning like, what would it look like to choose a direction? Not rushing into something, but trusting that movement itself can create the exit. Hopefully I could give you some perspective on how I see what your dream meant, and I hope whatever is causing this specific dream doesn't continue to stress you out any more than it already has. For dream number 2, I call this story Almost. In this dream, the dreamer kept running into somebody that they have feelings for in real life. Each time it happened, the setting was different. The first time was at a coffee date, talking and laughing like they had been there for hours. Another time, they were walking through a park at sunset, and later in the dream, they were standing outside together at night. He says that everything felt calm and natural, kind of like the moment where two people finally start to say what they want to say or what they've been thinking for a long time. But every time that moment happened, something got in the way. At the coffee date, the dreamer was about to say how they felt, but someone walked in between them, and when that person passed by, the other person was gone. He said later in the dream at the park, they stood close together like they were about to kiss. The other person looked at them like they were about to say something important, and then they just, in his words, Thanos snap disappeared right in front of him. Then he said the last part of the dream that he remembers was at night. They were standing close together again, smiling, leaning towards each other, and right before they kissed, they faded away again. And the dreamer just woke up. He said he felt sad, confused a little bit, but was okay nonetheless. And the reason I call this dream Almost is because dreams like this usually aren't about the other person disappearing. They're about the moments that feel emotionally close but never happen. The repeated things going on in different places, the coffee shop, the park, outside, suggest that the mind is replaying the same situation in different contexts. Not because it's confused, but because it's trying to understand you. The dreamer mentioned that they've been thinking about whether they should tell this person how they feel or not, and the fact that the person disappears right before the moment happens every time is especially important. It doesn't happen at the beginning of the interaction, it happens at the exact point where you're about to begin to be vulnerable. In a lot of dreams, disappearing people can represent uncertainty or the fear that something meaningful might vanish the moment we try to reach for it. What stands out to me is the pattern of the quote unquote almost. Almost saying something, almost kissing, almost closing the distance. That almost moment can sometimes reflect a real life emotional tension. Wanting to express something important while also wondering what might happen if you do. Dreams like this often appear when somebody is standing right at the edge of an emotional decision. Not necessarily a dramatic one, maybe a moment where honesty might change the direction of a relationship. What if she says no? What if the feeling is mutual or not? Instead, it focuses on the hesitation right before the moment. Sometimes the most powerful part of a dream isn't what happens, it's the moment that something almost did. If you guys have ever been through something like this, drop a comment down below. I want to see how many of us actually go through and have very similar dreams or not. I want to start a community where everybody can just be vulnerable in the community tab one day. I can just see everybody talking about their dreams. But anyways, let's get into this last dream. For this last dream, I don't even really have a name for it. I've never really heard of a dream like this before, so it's kind of new to me. But long story short, in this dream, the dreamer finds themselves at some sort of a family gathering at what looks to be like their grandparents' house from when they were a kid. The house is full of people, his relatives, cousins, conversations happening everywhere, everybody's having fun, but something feels strange. Everyone seems busy talking with each other, but no one is really talking to them. At one point, they hear someone call their name from another room, and when they walk in, the room is empty, except for a singular table with a photo album sitting on it. So they sit down and begin flipping through these pages. The album is filled with photos from different moments in their life, birthdays, holidays, school events. But something about the pictures feel off. In every photo, everyone else is looking directly at the camera, but they aren't. In every picture, they're looking somewhere else, off to the side, like something outside the frame got their attention. The more pages they turn, the more uncomfortable it feels. Eventually, they reach a photo that looks recent. In this one, everyone is smiling at the camera like normal, but this time, he isn't even looking away. They aren't distracted. They aren't in the photo at all. And right when they hear someone call their name again in the house, when they look up from the photo album, everything is dark. Nobody's there anymore. It's just them with a spotlight on them. So I've never really heard of anything like this before. Dreams involving pictures often have a lot to do with memory, I believe. Not just remembering events, but how we see ourselves in the story of our own life. One of the most interesting patterns in this dream is that in every picture, everyone else is looking at the camera, but the dreamer isn't. That detail may represent feeling slightly disconnected from the moment, maybe. Like, life is happening around you, but part of your attention is always somewhere else. The final picture is where the dream kind of shifts. Instead of simply looking away, the dreamer wasn't in the picture at all. Like, that moment can reflect such a deep question that people may ask themselves, am I actually present in my own life? Or am I just moving through it? That's kind of like the same thing from the first dream, but in a very different way. The fact that this happens inside of a family home, especially one connected to childhood, suggests that part of the dream may be reflecting on expectations that you had earlier in life. Maybe where you thought you would be, or what you imagined things would look like. Dreams like this don't necessarily mean something's wrong. Sometimes they just appear during periods where somebody's just quietly evaluating themselves, where they've been, where they're going next, what they think they should have been, what they think they should be doing next. The question the dream leaves to me is like, are you fully present in the life you're living right now? Or are you still searching for the version of it you expected? If you guys have any answers, drop them down below in the comments. Let's all have a discussion. Dreams don't always give answers, but they can reveal questions that we may be avoiding. And remember, if you have a dream that stuck with you, you can submit it using the link in the description. Everything is anonymous. Unless you want a name drop, you can name drop. But your dream might be featured in the next episode of the Dream Files. Thank you for watching, guys, and I'll see you next time.